Very good morning to everyone around Australia and around the world, wherever you might be listening to, up here in the crack of dawn here on a Wednesday morning, here for the DUANEO podcast, episode number 28. And you could probably look at, if you could just see where I'm sitting and where, if you're watching this on YouTube, you could just see we're in very similar time zones, me and Mr. Joe Martinez. But we're definitely in different parts of the world and certainly living under very different conditions. Of course, fresh off coming from the U.F.C. Apex in Vegas just a few days ago, big events. None other than Maestro U.F.C. future Hall of Famer. I'm going to put it out there, Joe Martinez. How you going, brother?
Wow, Dwayne, thank you. That's huge. Great introduction. Thank you.
Oh man. So as I was just saying, then UFC event on Sunday. You're certainly back on the front foot with everything that's happening in COVID. How is it over in your end?
It's actually been pretty nice, and we actually just started to allow some fans in attendance there at the Apex. So that's been a little bit less challenging. I think my whole last year announcing in front of nobody was almost it was a mental war,
I bet.
When I think as announcers we need reciprocation sometimes, and when it was just muted, it was really a challenge to stay motivated. Not saying it's hard to get motivated for these fights, but you pour a lot into it, and we like to hear fans, so
absolutely,
it's nice to have an addition.
Yeah, and do you feel now that, as I said, we're both in very separate circumstances with COVID, do you feel there's a bit of a certain, now that the vaccine rates are up, do you feel that you're getting back to normal? Because over here in Australia, and you probably might have seen it in the news, it's more so we're like a mini Europe at the moment, where we've got 6 different states and each one of them has their own different agenda. And we're supposed to have this national guideline at 70-80% vaccination rate. And we're literally, I'm in about an hour's time finding out if we got a day of freedom or not, because Queensland, where I'm based, shuts up shop for one case. It's very stop-start. So do you find that there is a bit of certainty where you are at the moment?
In Georgia, great. No problems.
Yeah.
Florida, no problems. But I know New York, they're now requiring passport vaccination cards, vaccine passports rather, to go into gyms and to restaurants.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe it's an attack on our civil liberties, and I'm not a fan of it at all. I feel like if you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't, then don't. It should be a choice, and we're in a democracy where it's not a dictatorship where they're telling us what we should. They can tell us what we should do, but to tell us what we are going to do, there's going to be an uprising, and I don't see it looking good. But it's political, Dwayne. I really believe it's become a political pawn. Yeah, it's disturbing. It's disturbing.
I know. It's like, well, as I said, like over here, see, I just talk on an Australian perspective, that there is such a thing called being it's a victim of your own success, because for last year Australia basically eliminated the virus. We basically up here in Queensland, it was 100 days straight. I think we didn't have a single case, and now all of a sudden, now this Delta strain, if you want to call it that, seeps in, and now that's no longer possible, but they still want to try and make it possible impossible. And so they'll lock us down on, like, literally I could get if we have one case of Delta, we're shut up shop for the rest of the day, but then we could go and have sport where there's 75% crowds. So New South Wales is a little bit different, where Sydney, where you and I hung out a bit when you did come here, and it's they were set as the gold standard because they allow a bit more freedom, but at the same time, they only just implemented their first lockdown this year, and now because they're getting 800-900 cases a day, but now that they're sort of thinking, well, we can't eliminate it, so let's try and boost it all up. And it's just, and that's the problem when you have and the laws are states basically own Australia. They have their own agendas, shutting up borders and stuff. And I agree with you, man. It's crazy. When you were saying like now that you're back doing the business and you're feeling off the crowd and stuff, man. So what is it like on the boxing front too? Because you've done some UFC events. Has that been the same one with boxing as well?
No, boxing I've done, I want to say maybe 4 events this year. 2 in Miami, and that was fan attended. 2 in California. 1 was closed off, very private, and 1 was in a soccer stadium in Los Angeles. And that was fan attended, which was great. It was great. It was, and I think the open air venues are going to thrive during these times, for
absolutely.
sure. But, I also went to a concert last month with my daughter.
I think I saw that on Instagram. I saw that.
Yeah. Went and saw Green Day, and oh my gosh, it was great. And there must have been 60,000 people in there.
Wow.
Just a good time. Super awesome. Good to be back. Feel normal again,
Oh man.
It was awesome.
Man, I did see that. I did see you post that the Green Day concert, and it makes you think that I have not set foot at a concert since February, beginning of last year. Ben, you might know of Atreyu. They're from LA. Yeah, so they toured into Brisbane, and I didn't think even with the crazy times that would be the last concert I would have been to. And and there's been, and that's the thing, even domestic bands here can't plan ahead to play domestic because of domestic borders. Like, to just show you how crazy things are at the moment. It's like Queensland, New South Wales, their border is shut at the moment, and our border communities this is their 3rd one. I lived in Byron Bay for the first 2 of them last year, and now up on the Gold Coast with my partner. And it's like it's border communities. They relate more to each other than what they do with Sydney. And okay, so we're just having a few technical difficulties. You can probably see now that Joe's rallied himself out of the illustrious back area and come into the inside area. And you'll just saying to me as we're sorting this out, Joe, that you're doing some DIY projects around the place.
Yeah. I actually just had the house painted. We just actually bought this place in May, so there's a lot going on. My wife has taken upon herself to paint the living room and the kitchen and the dining room. So that's her ambitious endeavor that I'm leaving to her. I don't want to participate in that at all.
Oh, even during times like this where it's like especially during the beginning of last year when people were, and I guess if there is a positive to all this, that it's like people finding the time to do that project that they've been putting off for years and stuff. So but as I was making mention about all these restrictions, I was just saying to before we got caught off, like where I'm based here on the Gold Coast, we're an hour away from New South Wales where the border is, and just with border closures where communities who are just literally separated by one line on the map, and not even be able to work, not even be able to go to school, not even be able to see loved ones. As I said, beginning of last year, I was living in Byron Bay, and that's over the other side, an hour down south, and I wasn't even allowed to cross here, and I wasn't even allowed to see my partner for 2 months at each other's place. We had to go meet. There was a little buffer zone around Tweed Heads, and that's where we could only see each other for 2 months. So is there anything like that over in the States at all, with, like you're saying, New York's going through certain aspects with vaccine passports and stuff, but was there any of that going on over there? Or
no, not that I've experienced. You know, and like you, it's different everywhere. Every city is different. Every county is different. Every state is different. So it just really, it depends on where you are.
I know.
Unfortunately,
it's yeah, like take it as you will. And as I said, we could talk about this for 6 hours. We could.
I've talked about this so much.
I know.
You know, and I sit here shaking my head about it all the time.
I know.
You know, it's like,
but as I said there, I always like to think hope over fear, and as if anything's to go by, I don't know if you saw this or not, but CM Punk, the wrestler, coming back into wrestling at Chicago, and seeing the pop that he got when he came out, and I was thinking, and then over in the English Premier League and the soccer, full stadiums over there, so there is hope, and I just hope it comes here very at the end of the year. But that's when. But then again, who knows? But anyways, man. So let's go into a bit about your career. So how did this all started for you, or this journey of what you're doing?
Man, it was truly an accident. As a kid, I always enjoyed announcing anything that was on TV. If it was headline news, time for headline sports, brought to you by Levi's Dockers. You know, so I would just say this stuff, and my dad really encouraged me, you know, to pursue all of us, you know, to pursue whatever our dream was. If it was, you know, becoming a doctor or a dentist or a plumber, you know, it was like go after it 100%. And you know, it was cool. I was probably 15 the first time I said something publicly, and my parents were around, and my dad said, "Hey, you might be onto something." I said, "Oh, okay," because I wanted to be a forest ranger back then.
I think you got the take for it now that you mentioned that to me. I think you look like someone that could go. What's the other thing? Maybe U.S. Marshal or something like that. Going just that Arnold.
Yeah.
Like you've got the good background scenery. You know that scene where Arnold Schwarzenegger, they go out and what's that scene where they hunting one of his witnesses or one of the someone that's in protection out in the forest, and then I'm just trying to remember the villain. What was the villain's name in that movie?
I have no idea. I don't know.
Yeah, but
are you talking about Commando?
No. Well, Commando's another one. Hey, you might have Terminator line up. Who knows, man? But anyway, sorry. Continue.
No, but in high school, my senior year, I broke my wrist. I didn't get to play baseball, and the coach allowed me to get up and announce in the crow's nest there overlooking the baseball field. So that's kind of where I caught the bug, the announcing bug, and it just carried on from there. And that was back in '93. I started announcing college baseball in '94, and then I got a professional baseball gig in '96, and I was there for 22 years. But during that whole course, it's like I was honing the craft. You know, I would announce baseball and volleyball and wrestling, soccer, gymnastics, you know, anything that my college was offering. I lent a voice because, I mean, when you say no, somebody else is saying yes, and that's an opportunity missed. So I still today don't even say no. You know, I'll go do it. Yeah. You know, I'm not saying I'll go do a show for free, but you know, I like to help upcoming promoters out. I like to help upcoming announcers out. You know, so if I can't make a show, or if I feel something is a better fit for one of my other guys, then you know, I'll refer them over that way, and we'll start building a resume.
Well, that's what it is, man. It's a camaraderie, and I was doing a news article last week, just for a buddy of mine here who I've commentated some games with, and it's funny. Alluding to the fact that I was just when I was just thinking about the other day about how certain aspects, just looking about when you've talked to me privately about certain aspects with the job, and that's just another one how I got into this through accident. It's always been a passion, yes, but the opportunity came like just way out of left field for me, and you just take it and you run with it as far as you can. So it might pay off, it might not, and in your case, man, it's paid off in spades because So what was the first prize fight do you remember doing, like boxing? I mean, I know that you've done Cage Warriors in the UK. There was a promotion, like the second tier of the UFC. Just trying to
World Extreme Cage Fighting, the WEC.
Yeah, WEC, that's the one. Yeah. So it was on the tip of my tongue. And that was when it was a second division to the UFC at the time. So what was your first boxing prize fight that came around, and then how did that stem into HBO, Showtime? And
I think it was just being persistent, and shopping myself around, looking for opportunities. And, I get asked the question, how do you get into it? How do you get into it? Well, if you want to get into it, make a demo, first of all.
Yeah.
And then see if you got something. If you don't, if you're just saying, hey, I want to announce fights because I have a great voice, well, good luck. But you need to have your ducks in a row and know the path. And I think the path is to have a demo, contact the commission, the athletic commission, and get a list of every promoter in your state, every promoter that you can find. If it's Nevada, then get all the Nevada promoters. If it's California, same thing. And then get their emails, start hounding them, shoot over your demo and the demo to your, or the link to your demo, and offer them a great rate, and see what happens. It's hard though. It's a very difficult career to be in. And, earlier in my career, it was feast or famine. I could have 4 shows in a month and then nothing for 6 months.
Yeah.
And every time I got a real job, it was like, I couldn't hang on to that real job, because then I'd get a call to go do a job. And I'm like, hey, I got to leave. And they're like, you can't leave. And I'm like, well, this isn't my career here. I'm not going to be tying a rebar the rest of my life, or digging holes for, concrete or, posts. But I never discriminated on work either. If there was money to be made and it was sweeping floor, that it. I had a college degree and I couldn't get a real job. It was difficult, and it would still be difficult at my age if I was to try and start a new career. What am I capable of? I don't know. I mean, I can't code. I'm not a gamer. I don't know what I would do. Move to Sweden, become a socialist. I don't know.
Well, I can agree with you on one thing. College is overrated. Well, we call it university here, but that's why I never went. So I just, and just to put to the fact is that, as I said, I work as doing accounts during the week, but I didn't go to uni to do that. In fact, my entry-level score at uni was under 40. I didn't even get a specific number. I went through high school for emotions. So it's just, you got to take cop your licks, take it for good or bad. It's simple as that. And you just got to keep pushing to where you got to go to until the end road is there. And I can totally agree with you when it comes to the fact that it's either feast or famine. I'm living that right now, and it's obviously through COVID, because community sport is obviously being affected by, depending on which state you live in. And so Queensland, for example, here on the Gold Coast, the local competition up here is only just starting back up. We had a lockdown a month ago, but when we came out of it after about a week, we were very lucky. It was only a week, and we didn't get many cases from the Delta strain from when it was hit Brisbane. But they called off community sport for 2 weeks because some of them were from school kids, and they were mingling with other school kids from playing soccer, rugby league, and from other schools. So they were being a bit, okay, well, 2 weeks. That's only just coming back this weekend, and I haven't been offered a gig yet. But over the road, down in the Northern Rivers in New South Wales, with Byron Bay and Tweed Heads, they're in lockdown. So they're in lockdown statewide. They haven't had any cases there yet. And so even though that might come back, well, it'll be next weekend at best, I'm bound by Queensland law, and I used to be able to go across the border there. I could for work, but now you can only go over if you're essential, because New South Wales is in lockdown. So we're talking 45 minutes down the road. So I might, unless I can get a shot to call remotely, I won't be able to go and work that gig, even though it would be offered to me. It's based, and that's just what it is. So like I was before COVID, like even during COVID, like when sports were on, I'd have 2 or 3 games a weekend, or events. And now I haven't done anything in a month. And even though if it goes ahead, so it's just
your withdrawals are showing.
Well, you are the master at reading. What is it, Joe? You're master of reading. Well, I am your apprentice, so I
no
can
cards.
Yeah. Well, I have.
I'll tell you something. Yeah. My buddy. I get to host this charity golf event every year in Texas, down in Houston, and my buddy brings me in, and every time I'll say, "Who was that guy? Who was that guy?" And he's like, "Dude, you've met him like 8 times. His name's Glenn." Yeah. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's right. And he goes, "Bro, unless you have a name written on your card, you don't know who you're talking to." You know? Or, I'm like, "Oh, come on, man." But I mean, it kind of is that way. I have a terrible name recall for whatever reason. I don't know. Like some people stick, but for the most part, you know, it's a challenge for me, man.
Yeah. It's you don't want to meet my producer then. He's terrible. I've been working him for 2 years. It's only, I think, end of last year he actually remembered my name. So
I just resort to bro, you know, for pretty much everybody. Hey, what's up, bro? You know,
everyone is bro.
It's safe. Yeah.
So so as I was gonna allude to, another thing, so we were talking about the similarities. How is it with social media at the moment? It's like when you first started up, I want to highlight to everyone here that when I first met you, it was actually here on the Gold Coast, and it was your first ever UFC event. And that was about a decade ago now. That's like nearly 10 years ago.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that 9-10 years ago. So, and I do recall that you were the first guy other than Bruce Buffer to do a UFC event. And so that all of a sudden it was like, well, everyone was getting used to Bruce and everyone loved Bruce. So it's like, you're the new guy. And then all of a sudden you're just doing your own thing. How's that coming to now that you've done a few more events?
Well, you know, I did come through WEC, so it wasn't like I was foreign to anybody in that regard. But I've always felt like it's not truly my home. UFC is not truly my home. And, you know, I'm just keeping the seat warm, you know, for Bruce. Which is fine by me. I'm grateful for the position that I'm in. And I'm more than happy with the number of gigs I get annually. So it works for me. But yeah, I mean, as far as social media goes, you know, I don't have it anymore. I used to have a Twitter. I used to have a Facebook. I used to care about what people said, but it only takes a couple bad tweets, you know, like somebody says something about you and it just, it was like pee in my cereal. I'm like, gosh, dude, you don't even know me. You know, but I'm like, I don't need that. I'm like, I like people that like me, like we all do.
Of course.
You know, so why do I want to stick myself out there in the public eye so I can be, you know, potentially trolled or tormented in any way? Like, I'm going to pick my battles where I need to battle and let everybody else handle the social media. It's just not my thing.
Yeah, I can. And the reason I mention that is because I went through a similar thing myself. Like when I first got into the footy commentary, like my first grand final, because I was a new guy, and like unlike you though, I didn't have an incumbent. It was just new, and I got hauled over the coals. Grand final. I thought, and I just went into it full guns blazing. I think it was the excitement or something. And then I got home and my mum read all the comments on Facebook, and now I take it with a grain of salt. But to see that this was a big occasion, and she went and read all that, she was like, what the hell is going on here? And it's like, what? And I just, it made you feel like, man, this was the biggest event of your life. And then people just like dragged you through the mud. And it's just,
destroy your parade.
Yeah, it just sort of leaves a dent. But 12 months later, there was not a single person that caused it, because I felt like I was more established. I was more of a familiar voice. And so I just thought that's sort of why I brought that. So now that you've showing face a bit more, it's like, well, okay, well, you're not so much a stranger. I'm getting used to that voice. It's like that episode of Seinfeld, you know, when George Costanza tries to score that date with that, and he goes, well, if I just say, like, stick into it, play rent-free into her head, she might like me. And it actually sort of, you remember the Costanza. But that's where I was sort of alluding to, like, if you become more familiar, you probably become more accepted. And that certainly was the case for me anyway. However,
or dreaded. You're either accepted or dreaded. Yeah. Like I can mentally destroy myself if I get in there thinking like, gosh, people are watching me and they're probably like, oh man, him again. You know, I mean, that's,
can I ask you,
those are head games, dude. I don't play those with myself.
But here's another thing. How many of those people come and say it to your face though? Has anyone, like,
nobody?
That's exactly, exactly. So they're quick to jump on a keyboard and and try and make themselves look like they're an armchair expert. But at the same, and that's the same thing with me. I've had one or two people. Well, here was the other thing. I'm not going to name clubs or anything, but recently I did an event up towards this way, and I do my prep every week. I study the players, and a lot of them I don't have to study very often because I've become familiar with them. But online, the websites sometimes don't list the players. When the team lists come out on a Wednesday, they says name withheld, name unknown, and there's this one team had about 7 of them. And so I'm like, well, depending on what team that is, I might be able to figure it out, but I couldn't on this case. So then when it came to game day, when the official sheets come out, I won't get the official lineup to work with for 10 minutes before kickoff. So 10 minutes before the game starts. And so I can't do any research on players, and some of the pronunciation's another key. And that's where I'm getting at with this. And so I'm like trying to pronounce names. I can't go and ask the players in the sheds. I have to get ready because I'm 5 minutes before kickoff. So then I'm doing this game, and that team had a bit of a heartbreaking loss. And then one of the scorers came up to me and says, you need to learn to pronounce such and such. You need to do this, trying to give me tips. I'm saying, well, your club admin needs to tell me who's on your team, so then I can do that.
Right.
But they don't understand that. And then they want to take cheap shots. But it's like, people just like to cherry pick criticism.
Yeah, you got to have thick skin. You got to have thick skin when you're going to be in a public setting, in the public eye. You know, and everybody's got a flavor. You know, and some people might like you because you're strawberry, and some people might like someone else because he's mint and chip. You know, everybody's got a flavor.
I like mint and chip, though.
Yeah,
I like
but I mean, it's just the nature of the beast.
It
just
is
the nature of the beast. So I pick my battles, which are very few, if I ever have any, and I just encourage people to get to know somebody before you start to blast them. You know, people don't know what I came through. People don't know where I grew up or how I grew up, or you know, if I was poor, or you know, they don't know that. They don't know what I went through.
I know it's and they just, it's like, and the other aspect of it too, and this hit more a bit home. Well, I guess I sort of picked up on it during the Olympics that just passed. Another thing is you might sound okay, but then they might want to drag you in the mud because you're not from a certain area or not from a certain country. For example, like I did a grand final up here, which was my biggest game I ever called. And one night, because of those border closures, I didn't think I was going to be able to do. It was at a professional stadium, everything like that. So it was the Gold Coast Grand Final, and 3,000 people were in attendance. It was at a C-Bus Super Stadium, which is home to the Gold Coast Titans, which are a professional club. So when I did that game, it was crowd noise, the whole bit. I was ticking off my bucket list, and 2 weeks before that, I wasn't even allowed into Queensland. So that was another aspect. So it was a very special event. And then the comments come through, and the comments are like, I think I might have mentioned that 2 weeks ago, I wasn't even allowed in Queensland because of COVID. And people picked up on that, and they said, "Oh, what's this guy from Byron Bay calling a Gold Coast Grand Final?" So it started getting territorial. Some of the comments, like, "What's this guy from Byron Bay calling the biggest Grand Final of the year?"
Bring in an American. What's wrong with this?
Well, that's the other thing too. And then I just thought, well, what brought that up the other day was, and you'll probably, if you watch the track and field, you would have heard an Australian call the 100-meter sprint. He's the name of Lee Diffie. He doing it for NBC. So he was an Australian motor racing commentator before he moved over to the States and did all the IndyCar and stuff. And he did an interview over here, and he was like saying, well, this is my biggest event. But then people were saying, well, why isn't an American calling it? You got an Australian, a guy from the Caribbean as his color guy, like his color colleague. And so why? And he said, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like now they're starting to pick and choose where people are, and instead of who's actually good for the job. So is that something that you've been facing during your career at all?
I don't think so. I don't. Maybe a little bit of a challenge in Mexico, but I've been in boxing long enough. I actually started announcing boxing in Mexico. Maybe my fourth or fifth event as a professional ring announcer, and I had to do Spanish and English. And I mean, talk about being terrified. I was not very confident in my abilities to go back and forth, but I managed and I pulled it off, and now I'm pretty darn good at it. But yeah, I mean, there's times where you feel out of place. Nobody ever called me a name, and that was like my biggest fear in Mexico. They're relentless. If you screw up, it's the whole stadium is screaming culero, which means a-hole, and it's just a chant that goes on, and you become that guy. So anytime you show back up, there you are again, and there goes the chant again, and thankfully that never happened to me. I was terrified of that ever, coming to be, a part of my existence in Mexico. But yeah, thankfully I've avoided that so far, knock on wood.
And I've heard a rumor too. I don't know if you have you ever worked Montreal?
Have not yet. No.
Well, I heard a rumor, and I just watched from watching just some old concert DVDs and from bands from Montreal in Canada. There's a rumor that if you don't, and I know this from experience because of going to a concert in Montreal, the Heavy Montreal Festival, that a lot of if you're a Canadian from Canada, especially from Montreal, you do not address the crowd in English, only in French, you'll get booed. That's not to say if you address the crowd in English, like people, will have a bit of an understanding. But if you're a native of Quebec, and I actually picked up on this because there's a Swedish band called Arch Enemy, and their lead singer at the moment was originally from Quebec. And when I remember watching the performance, she did not speak a word of English into the crowd. And so I'm thinking, well, that sort of rings true. So that if it's French or die, basically, over in Montreal.
Yeah.
So
unless you're Metallica.
Well, they did play. Well, yeah, they did play. I'm just trying to remember if I watched any. I've watched a lot of Metallica footage over the years, especially.
I did a show in Paris a couple years ago, and And I was like, why am I going to Paris to do a show? I don't speak French. And that's how I felt. Like I get in there and it was good. I had a good time. Everything went well, but I felt a little out of place, you know, trying to throw some French in there, but my French is terrible. I mean, I'm in the car with the driver and I'm like, hey, how does this sound? And he's like, no, that doesn't sound good. No, and he's like, it's okay. We speak English here. You don't have to speak French. I'm like, okay. So there was a little bit of it was not like being in let's say like I've done Ukraine and speaking English there, and everybody, it's stone cold, steel faced, like they're like killers in the audience, you know, and just not any emotions.
I think I sent you a photo years ago of like an announcer in Russia, and he was just this, you know, it looked like he just bet the entire house on a sure thing, and then just found out that it was Buster Douglas all over again. That's so that was, but I totally get that. And I can allude to the fact when I was in Montreal, it was my third day in Canada, and coming out of the train station, up the subway, me and my buddy are carrying a 30-kilo bag, and I'm just bringing up all these overseas stories when, you know, now it's just it's an unlikely proposition from where we're sitting at the moment, but I'll try to get through this boom gate, and then there was this you know, I don't know, security guard or someone that just mans the boom gates, and she's just I could tell she was swearing to me in French, not that I know much French, but she was just pointing a finger at me, and I'm just like, what? What are you trying to say? And then, like, she could tell I didn't know French, and she's still cursing at me in French. So I've just jumped over the boom gate and said a few profanities and just staggered to my hotel, wherever that was. Yeah. But how do you find, like, you're mentioning a few overseas trips, so how do you find getting used to a different country when you go and visit? Like, were you like me, like almost getting run over by a car after about 10 drinks because you didn't look like, you naturally look cars coming the other way, but they're coming this way? Or
no, that I'm with you on that, because we drive on the correct side of the road here in America.
Are you sure about that?
But over there, it's the right side, right? That's where we drive, the right side. But over, I go to London and I'm walking, and so if I'm crossing the street, I'm going to look to my left, but cars are coming to the right. So I walk out, here comes the car, you know, but they say look both ways before you go. So, you know, that's on you. But yeah, I mean, naturally, we're all trained to, I'll go to get in the car with somebody, and I'll walk to the driver's side, which is the passenger side for us, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know everything's always a bit different. Even like, I remember like last time we called up, you went and got a burger and chips and stuff, and I remember you had the sachet of tomato sauce you call ketchup, and you tried to open it and it sprayed everywhere. You had your own technique of opening it compared to how our packaging is. Ours is you've got to bite with your teeth because it's full. Yeah,
that's how you get COVID.
Yeah. Oh, is it? All right.
Biting packets.
It's we'll just add that one to the list, shall we? but as I was going to allude to, so just a bit more away from the announcing side of things. How you're a big Ohio State fan? How did that come about? Because you're originally from the LA, but now you're living in Georgia.
Totally. Born and bred California. So when I was in 8th grade, there was a baseball player for the Cincinnati Reds named Chris Sabo, and he hit an inside the park home run. Baseball's a huge sport in America, as most of you know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I loved the way he played. Like, this is a hard-nosed, just a nails guy, kind of the kind that you love to root for. So he became my favorite player. And he's, again, with Cincinnati, which is in Ohio. So then I just my allegiance kind of geared and shifted over that way. I was kind of a free agent anyway. I didn't like
Free
the LA
agent?
Dodgers. Yeah, I didn't like the Angels. I didn't like the Lakers or Clippers.
Is there a reason,
So
like too corporate or?
no particular reason. It was just fun to root against them because they always won.
Yeah, okay.
You know, Lakers always. When I was a kid, the Lakers always won. They were always in the NBA championship. They always won. But Sabo brought me over to the Reds, and then Ohio State became part of my life, and that's all my kids talk about.
Have you ever set foot in Ohio State or in Ohio before you started following them? Or
I had never been there. I'd never been there.
Well,
you know what's sick? This is how demented I was. I created a whole persona, and I researched cities in Ohio. I wrote a story in high school about how I grew up in Ohio, you know, in the city of Lockland, Ohio, which was 10 minutes away from Cincinnati. And it's just this big, elaborate story. So I kind of like took it on. And I had always said, hey, when I graduate, I'm moving to Ohio. I'm going to go to Ohio State. I'm going to get a degree. But then I saw the tuition. I'm like, yeah, I'm probably going to stay home because it's way too expensive. That's not going to happen for me. I was not an academic. I was good at school, but I wasn't going to get any academic scholarships, and they didn't give announcing scholarships. So
no. Well,
of course, I could have joined the band. I could have been part of the best damn band in the whole land. Ohio State band.
Oh well, there's still a chance, man. Like as I said, like as we talked about the whole announcing side of things, like things come by accident. I can, as I said, I can vouch for that on my end as well. But
right.
But how are you good? Because as I said, you're pretty big on NFL, American football, and stuff like that. So how would you go as being? I don't know if they've got it over in the States, but they've got what's it called? Where it's like team manager. So where you could try and pick your best players and recruit.
Oh, like fantasy football.
Fantasy football. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
I never really tried it myself because it's like just like certain things I just wouldn't be great at it. But
yeah.
So how would you go at, say, if you had to pick a team and putting that out there?
How would I go about it? I would give it to my son because he studies all these kids.
Okay.
Like he says, Dad, Tyreek Hill runs a 4.3 40 in pads. I'm like, what? How do you know this? What's wrong with you, dude? You're 11. But so he'll tell me who's hot and who's not. So yeah, that's how I would go about it. I wouldn't pick a team myself. I've done fantasy football and I'm terrible because I'm not a good caretaker. I don't shift my lineups. I'll have guys starting that are on a bye week.
Okay, yeah, that's
so
well, but
I give points away.
Well, if they're on a bye week, then I guess you could say that they're going to be match fit, into especially if they're coming in off a niggling injury or anything like that. But that would probably work better than, say, for example, if they were, I guess, how do you put it? If they've been on a bye week for 2 weeks and then they're completely fresh, ready to go. So, but anyway, what I wanted to show you is just some clips because obviously with rugby league, we're a bit different. We don't wear headgear. We don't wear pads.
Yeah, you guys are tough.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you some clips just from the local league that I work calling, and just see if any of these, which one of these guys you think would potentially come over to the States to play for Ohio. So I'll just get the share screen up. If you're listening to this on Spotify, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to see this, but let me just get my share screen up here. It's been a while since I've done this. So, okay. So firstly, I want to thank giving a shameless plug here to Bar TV, who providing all this coverage. Hopefully we'll be back on the mic with them soon. So check this one out here, Joe. That when they're in the blue and red. So it's going to be slow-mo again. Check this for a hit.
Oh, yeah, it trucked him.
Yeah, so that would be a front liner for Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, I'd throw him in running back.
Did you see that flip?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd have to be in the NFL because once you go down in college, you're down, unfortunately, at university level.
Yeah.
NFL, if you go down, you can get back up as long as no one touches you.
Okay, now some of these here are more just comedic, and just like WTF moments. So check this one out here. So off a restart, off the goalpost. Watch what happens here. Thank you very much. And
yeah.
So
this guy got lit.
Now, what do you think the odds were of like kicking a ball? If you were asked to do that, say 1,000 times, kick the ball, hit the post, bounce it back, and then score points off that kick?
Yeah. Probably close to impossible.
It's free.
You probably have a better chance of getting hit by lightning.
Or okay, so next one. Now watch it. So this is
Michael Gordon.
Boom. He's going to feature again in another clip.
He went beast on him. He's like, get out of my way.
2. It's almost worth playing again. Watch this.
Yeah, like he just wears him out.
Now,
no, you can't take my sister to the prom.
That's Abel Antonizer. He's and I'm actually gonna, in the last clip I've got lined up here, he's gonna feature in an encore. So you need to look him up. So he'll be the front runner, you reckon, at the moment for Ohio, Joe?
Oh man, I would take that dude in a minute.
Now, this is a freak try. Now, I want you to watch this guy in the white headgear.
Out there, yeah.
Yeah, but he would be your running back. But anyway, I'll play it through. So he sets it up there. Now, but watch what happens here. Number 6 here rolls his ankle. Now you see. Watch this.
Oh yeah.
But watch what happens after this. So there's the roll of the ankle. This made the mainstream.
Still live.
Still live. Played it. And try time. So that's Oliver Regan there. So now with that one, that made a
fake ankle.
Fake ankle, but
yeah,
that was
drew the attention away from the defenders.
Yeah, they teach you that in juniors. You got to play to the referee's whistle. That's and so and the boys there, the opposition, they were just like, what just happened? And they want to play to the whistle. So okay, so the next one, if I can hang on, what's happening here? Okay, so now watch this for a front rower. He's went there, boom.
Oh, yeah, these guys are fullbacks all day. They're gonna block for you. Every now and then they get the glory and get a carry.
So he would have to be up there.
He's a hole maker.
Okay, next one is we call big fence, like you call like a fence there.
Oh, that's called a pancake right there, dude. Bam! Throw some syrup on him.
Yeah. Okay, and so next one. Okay, so this is more of just a good defensive tackle, blindside.
Oh.
And that's just, you can just see there he's going at full tilt and just rip.
Man, that was my favorite thing in football, was getting blindsided.
You getting blindsided?
Me getting blindsided. I loved it.
You love getting smashed into
it's like, the world it becomes slow motion. You're just flying through the air like, whoa, what just happened? I got lit.
Okay, Now this is to all you fellas out here, if you want to look away for the next, 30 seconds to a minute, probably do so now. That this is probably, it's the other thing too. We don't wear cups. So, and you'll see why in a second. So tackle's about to be made. Watch this. There. You just
what?
I'll replay that again. There.
Oh, he gave him a kicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we'll just go one more time. I'm sorry, guys, but this is just goes to show we don't. If we had cup, yeah.
Oh.
And This one's going to same sort of deal. Number 3 here for Lower Clarence in the black and white. He cops a whole head.
Yeah. Man, I don't think he wanted that.
He's So this was actually the last game before COVID lockdown kicked for that round. That was about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I like how the guy cares.
Yeah, you can probably just.
Like, if you've ever had this happen to you, you know there's nothing that anybody can do for you.
Okay. Now this is the encore. This is the encore. Now this is a game that I did about a month ago, and I'll say no more. This is a bell end tonight.
Boom, 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 boom. Dang! What the heck, dude? Mixing a tackle. What the heck? I ran through the whole village.
Yeah. So So how would you feel that these guys will go at college league?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, it's like, how would you feel if our college guys went over and played in your league? You know, I don't think they'd be able to hang, right?
Well, I know it's different. Well, as I said, it's at least though that. Well, I would like to see
different animal.
I'd like to
like what's that other sport with the stick you guys have? That
cricket.
There's wickets. Yeah, cricket.
Yeah,
it's like cricket and baseball, and baseball came from cricket. Doubleday founded this game back in the 1800s, and your style, I can't understand it. And I know some games can last for days, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So we have different. Well, here's the thing: we've got 3 different formats. 2 of them are been around forever. So you're referring to what is a test match where they play for 5 days, and they have 2 innings instead of 9, but the innings go for much longer. So you're basically
I don't even know what an inning is.
Well, yeah,
as far as your innings.
Oh, but that's in baseball too. You get 9 innings, but so the basics of it is you get 11 players. You have 2 batsmen out there, and you can get out in certain ways. That's very similar to baseball. If you get caught on the full.
But Dwayne, you can hit the ball backwards in cricket.
Yeah, well, that requires technique. That requires technique.
Is there ever a foul ball? Is there ever a foul
yes, if you bowl it too wide, either left or right, then that can get considered a foul. We call them wide.
So when you hit the ball, is it however many times you can run back and forth?
Yeah. Or if you hit it over, if you say, for example, the equivalent of a home run, that's 6-6.
Over the line.
Yeah, but if you hit it one bounce and then over the boundary, it's 4. And then so whatever you can run. So, but you're probably going to be more a fan of the short version, which is this is only about been around for maybe 15 years, 10, 15 years.
They've timed it.
2020. So it's like 20. They play 20 overs. So each over has 6 balls, and so and that goes from maybe about 3 hours. Very similar to baseball. So I've actually, because I went and watched the Yankees play Toronto Blue Jays when I was in Toronto. So I did get a feel of it live. So I could feel that, if it goes for days, I can understand why baseball pundits wouldn't like. But I find maybe that's a bit more of a reach now from the cricket end to take in people that are very into baseball.
Keep people drawn in.
Yeah. So, and there's a lot more. The rules are altered to encourage more attacking play, where you can hit over the boundary. Like over here, we have a competition called the KFC Big Bash, which is and it's for that very reason, where they just the rules are changed, where it's not as defensive, where you can just it encourages the attacking batsman to sock a few dingers, what you Americans like to call. So
I'm so glad you've informed me on this, because I was wondering.
Yeah, there is different versions, and I totally get it. Unless you're an absolute cricket tragic. You're not going to like the test match version. Even the 50 over version's a bit run its course. It was pretty
I'll
big.
try it. I try it. Heck, man, when I was in Abu Dhabi, they had camel racing on TV, and there are no people riding the camels. It's just all these cars following the camels who are running down the track, and there's a camera following them, and they're like cheering the camels on. I'm like, what the hell is this, dude? But it was intense, man. I was like, wow, this is not too shabby. I'll check it out.
Well, and that's sort of how I felt when I went to when I was in Canada, because like there was baseball on every night. Toronto was on every night, and I had a half an inkling with baseball, but we pretty much got a lot of other ball sports on during the winter. So I don't, and being in the playing at this time of day, it's like, well, I don't get a chance to watch a lot of US sports as much as I'd like to. So that was probably part of it. So, but I watched it every night when I was not out somewhere in Canada, and I was thinking, this is all right. So, so there is hope. There is hope that through 2020 cricket that it can catch on over in your end.
Yeah, you never know. Maybe it'll be an Olympic event in 24.
Well, and that was the other thing too. Well, 24, that's in Paris. LA's got 28, we've got 32. So we only just got
That's my dream right there. Like my dream, bucket list dream, is to announce an Olympic event at the Olympics.
That's 7 years away, man. I can see it happening.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well,
we'll see.
I'll tell you a story too. It's like, whilst we're on the subject of the Olympics, going back to the start, how I said we basically have snap lockdowns where we are. And so the night before we went into lockdown, I was in Brisbane with my partner. We went and watched the Brisbane Broncos play a game of rugby league, is what we just played the last few minutes. We had about 30,000 in the crowds, and having a great night out with my partner, and stayed up there the night. And Brisbane had the win, and we were walking back through South Bank, and we came past this quarantine hotel, and we were just looking up. Now, at this time, our premier, which a premier is your version of governor. So our premier was in hotel quarantine because she went over to Tokyo to go into bat to get the Olympics for Brisbane and for 2032. Which, it was unopposed anyway, but she still went over. So she was in there, and just as a joke, I yelled out, "Hey, Anna, how's the view from here?" And just basically said, "How's the view from here?" And I was just, drunk as a skunk. And I was basically saying,
That's odd.
I said, "We're going to be in lockdown tomorrow. I think I've just jinxed this. What happens the next morning? We go into lockdown." So I think I might have, pressed the red button.
So you set it off, huh? Darn it.
Yeah. So I think by telling the story, it's actually 10 o'clock now Australian time. That's when she due to have her press conference. So we could be getting a lockdown announcement by the time we finish up here.
Yeah. Give us freedom. Give us freedom.
I know, it's just crazy, man. But anyways, man. So heading forward, you've done done some big prize fights. Just I'll rattle a few off. Name your three biggest boxing prize fights, and I guess you can throw MMA in this too if you want to create a bit of a top five.
Canelo Triple G 2 was exciting for me. Danny Garcia, Amir Khan Canelo. Miguel Cotto, Delvin Rodriguez. That was awesome. That was in Orlando, Florida. And Cotto came out to no music. There's a big Puerto Rican population in Orlando, and he came out to no music, just the roar of the crowd. That was intense. So those are my boxing ones that I've enjoyed. I've done a number, more, but just off the top of my head. MMA, probably the Smashes, Australia. That was my first one. Ultimate Fighter.
As I said, it was
Smashes.
Right here.
Yeah, Whitaker won that. Chad Mendez fought on that card, so got to reunite with my buddies from Alpha Male.
You're a little bit under the weather too. I remember when I think.
Yeah, I was. That was in at that event. I broke a fever on the flight.
Really? So you broke your leg?
Yeah. A fever.
Oh, broke a fever. I thought you said broke a fever as in fibula bone. Oh, so you had a fever on the flight. Okay.
Yeah. So that was brutal. But yeah, we got through it. Faber Assunção in Arco Arena, Sacramento, California was exciting for me. Cage Warriors Dublin. I think it was in 2011 or 12, and it was Conor McGregor, and he won the 155-pound title to become a 2-division champ. And then he jumped out of the octagon and into the crowd, and I'm like, it was crazy. So that was fun, and it was in Dublin of all places, So he had a home fight, which was good for him. But yeah, I got to be a part of that. That was fun.
Yeah. So, and is there anything further that you want to do after,
other than the Olympics?
Yeah.
Be a good dad, be a good husband. Those are my biggest career goals. And I didn't maintain it very well in my younger days, but now, my wife, we're good now for the last decade. So we started out rocky, like most marriages, Yeah. Because the fun comes to an end most of the time. It's like whatever premise you met on, once kids get involved, it all changes. So there was a curve for me anyway to adjust. But yeah, we got to figure it out now, thankfully.
But
it is a work.
And that's what I was taken in by is that you call a spade and you're humble. It's like a lot of people that I guess would have been in the position that you're in would probably not be as humble and just think, oh, well, look, I've done this, then who cares, sort of thing. But it's like, and one thing that when you said to me when we were in Sydney, it's like, I don't want to be the next Bruce Buffer. I don't want to do this. I'm Joe Martinez. I'm me. And and another thing I'll allude to as well is you're very passionate about what you do. And one thing I forgot to mention is how's it being, because you're actually a Christian minister as well. Is that so? How's that been going for you pre-COVID, during COVID, and I guess now?
It's probably saved my life, DUANE, honestly. And I don't want to say I was on a path of destruction, but I probably would have destroyed my marriage had I not met Christ, and changed my wicked ways.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I know that I'm forgiven. I know that I'm worthy. I deal with mental health like a lot of people too. And that's just feeling an inferiority complex or an unworthy complex, those types of things that could control somebody and keep them shelled up. That's what I try to advocate for too, is manage your mental and find good outlets, to do that, and if it's gaming, or it's hiking or walking or biking or social media, chatting with somebody. It's good to talk. It's good to laugh. Let's laugh every day, and Jim Valvano, who was a big time university basketball coach at NC State before he had died. And they do this every year. They'll play his speech on ESPN, and it's the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. And he said 3 things. If you can do these every day, you'll have a full life. And it was I know one of them was laugh, try to laugh every day. The other one was, and I can't think of it, but I know the last one was cry, like experience emotions that are going to bring you to tears, whether they're good tears or bad tears, but have them. Don't be afraid of them. I think oftentimes we get afraid of allowing ourselves to express how we truly feel and we put on a mask.
Yeah.
And that mask is only covering up the pain that some of us have inside. So when we can learn how to express how we feel and talk to people, I think our life can become more full, and we'll start to release that pressure that we might feel, or anxiety, you know, to be accepted.
Yeah. You couldn't say it any better, brother. It's and that's what a lot of us are going through at the moment. Being like half of our country at the moment is in lockdown.
Right.
If you look at Melbourne right now, which I guess was the sporting capital of Australia, like, and in there, I think since COVID hit, they're in 210 days and counting in lockdown, and it's just, when does that become a consideration? And even pre-COVID, a couple of moments hit home for me.
Yeah.
I lost a buddy of mine. I wouldn't say he was like full in a circle, but he lived about 10 doors down from where I lived, and me and my partners, back when I was living in Byron Bay, I went out to, my mum came back from the local shop, and she said there's all these police that are surrounded the place, and that's what I saw. And so she actually saw this young girl cry and bawling her eyes out. So then I went up an hour later, and then the police came up, and I knew who it, like, I said, that's such and such. I won't release his name, but like, this is such and such's place. And I'm like, and I'm thinking, he's a good, like, why would the police be here? He's innocent. And he was so happy, and he just lit the room up every time you went and saw him. And then 2 hours later, I drove past, and the cops were still there, roped off the place. And then 2 days later, this was 2 days before Christmas, but this is 2019. I see that someone's posted, they just said that he was a soccer player, and had it was like a team picture, and they said, rest easy, done. And I'm like, I didn't know the whole team, but I just thought, well, I'm hoping it's not him. And like, I was starting to put two and two together, and then it came through on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And that was right. And they held back the funeral for a few weeks till about a month before COVID hit. So, and now we're in Australia. And I've known a couple of other people that maybe I might not have known personally, but if you're in lockdown, you can only have 10 at your funeral.
Yeah, right.
Including the minister. And so there's, and depending on where you are, people can't travel. Like, that's not really an exemption. If you are exempted, you got to stay in hotel quarantine for 2 weeks. And so it's one thing when it happens, it's another thing to not being able to give that loved one the send off that they need. And of course, we've got live streaming available to us, but it's not the same. And so
funerals are for us, though. You know, I think funerals are for the ones that are left behind.
Yeah.
And I think what I like about funerals is it gives everybody a recharge. You know, it gives you a new perspective again, or maybe it wakes you up. Like, oh my gosh, he was so young.
Yeah.
You know, who do I need to tell I love today, or who needs to hear those words today?
I know, it's,
you know,
and it's
I lost my dad in '96 when I was 21. I lost my grandpa when I was 29, and those were the two most influential people out of three in my life. I mean, the two men who taught me how to love and be a man, you know, were taken from me, and I felt like at too young of an age. But I was there with them, and it encouraged me to strive to be better, to work harder in life, to achieve my goals, and that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself too. I mean, I was only 21. I wasn't 15 like my younger brother, but it still added a lot of pressure to my plate, and I nearly succumbed to that. You know, in 2004, you know, I was suicidal. You know, I hung myself, and and my stepdad kicked in my door and took me down off the belt and saved my life. You know, and it's something that, yeah, I mean, these are things that we need to talk about.
Absolutely.
I'm not embarrassed by it, but if I can help somebody and encourage them and saying that, hey, you know what, things get hard in life, always are going to get hard in life. And the way you come out of it at the end is going to be strength. You know, if you can persevere, there is light at the end of the tunnel, you know. And
absolutely.
I'm trying to encourage my daughter the same way. You know, she's not like most kids. She's 13. She loves Green Day. She likes, you know, different types of music. And she's not widely accepted in her school.
Yeah.
Which for her is weird, because she's like, everybody has always enjoyed being around her. But you know, she's experiencing a little bit of name bullying.
Yeah.
Emo girl, goth girl, because but she's not. And I'm like, and I tell her, I'm like, look, you know who you are. I know who you are. And once people get to know you, then they're going to accept who you truly are. And until then, they're not worth your time, because it doesn't matter what anybody thinks about you. It matters what you think about you. It matters what God thinks about you. And that's what I tell my kids. It's like, God's opinion on you is far stronger and has more weight than any individual or group on this planet. And what does God say about you? His word says you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that he's got your back in everything you do. He'll never leave or forsake you. Now, these are truths that we speak to our children to build them up. And she's like, I know, Dad, I know all these things, but it just hurts. It hurts because they don't know me.
I know it's schools can be tough, man, and it's like
it sucks, man. It makes me so mad. I'm like, I know. I'm like thinking, what can I do? I'm going to hold an assembly at the school and talk about bullying and mental health. You know, it's like, I'm going to stand up and
fight the good fight, man. As I said, like it's and this is what we come to. As I said, how many people that are in the position that you're in would go ahead and do all this kind of stuff and speak out as widely as you have to me? It's not many, because people, like, I don't see, like, for example, like say Chris Hemsworth or someone who's sitting on an $8 million property in Byron Bay coming out talking as such. He's hanging out with Matt Damon and Mark Wahlberg, who have shipped up over here, and like lockdowns for them is paradise. It's like, which room do we want to watch and chill out in this week? But there's people who are in public housing who today, from day to day, don't know where the next dollar is going to come from. Food banks are shut. It's, you know, so people need to have perspective on where they're living right now. Think about your common man or woman, because it's not so crash.
Right.
Yeah. So
no, you're right.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I'm so grateful that someone like yourself can come and speak a few truths about what's going on, and I can vouch for the whole school thing, man. It's like, I was bullied at school myself, for at high school, and names that I do not dare repeat, but I can guarantee you they won't repeat them now. It's when it's just kids being kids, as much as it's like, it's, you don't condone it, but once, like, there's times when I was 18, 19, I don't agree with what I did, like being much older, looking back, and I'm thinking, shit, did I actually do this when I was that age? I can't believe I
did some bad stuff too, dude.
Yeah, it's like, well, what makes a human, though, is you make a mistake, you learn from it, and you don't do it again. It's as simple.
Did you ever
as that.
see? Was it Billy Madison?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite movies growing up.
And he makes the list of people. he goes back to talk to people to apologize for the way he was. And I can't remember what's the name of the actor that had the whole list of people, and he was putting on lipstick or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't get that far, but
he crossed him off the list. He called. He says, "Hey, you know, I I was a turd to you back in school. I just wanted to apologize. And then that guy had like people to kill, like a list, and Billy Madison was on there, and he scratched his name out. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'm not going to kill him anymore."
Yeah, I'm not going to that extent, but let's put it this way: there's people that I'm friends with today who are in a circle that we have common acquaintances who I care not to see again, and that's probably one of the beauties about leaving Byron Bay is that there's that bump in where it's like, hey, like because Byron Bay, even though it's sort of gone to mini Hollywood as it is now, it's more or less you still have that bump in, and it's like, well, I know what they're trying, like there's a lot of people that will come up and shake your hand and trying to be best buds until someone more important comes into the room,
right?
And it's like, well, look, like I'm not gonna and MFR. I'm not going to associate myself with you no more. That's just sort of how it is. Like, so go through, as I said, it's all about the upbringing, but at the same time, it's I just say keep push on. Once adult life, the cream really rises to the top. Yeah,
it does. And you push on, you get through things, and it's also a testimony that you can share with other people that are struggling. It's part of being a human being is sharing experiences, and being a good teacher or role model is helping people cope with experiences that you probably had too. And that's why I'm happy to share. And like I said, if I can help anybody in any way, I will. I mean, it's just the kind of person I want to be. I strive to be. And it's not Joe Martinez, the announcer. I don't like that title. Announcing is what I do. But who I am is I'm Joe Martinez. I'm a person just like everybody else. I use toilet paper, and unless it's COVID times and you can't find toilet paper in America.
You had that problem too.
Yeah,
we still have that problem here. We go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Subject.
One case, we go lockdown in that local shop, and boom, it's like, have they not heard of click and collect? Have they not heard of deliveries? Like I've actually started using click and collect because of this. It's like I don't want to associate with people that, even at the times that we're in now, and I'm just seeing if we're going into lockdown today. No, you can probably see there. That's 0 double donut day. That's what they call donut day, Joe. 0 cases, so we're free. I'm free for another 24 hours.
There you go. Good.
Yeah. So
good to know.
Anyways, man, we'll wrap this up, but final thoughts to you, man. Like how do you see 2022 coming into? Are we gonna? As I said, if I can't get you to Australia, man, I'll see about getting you dual citizenship, and then well, you don't want to take up the generous offer. I'm happy to be your sponsor.
I don't mind. Shoot, I love Australia. You guys are great. Plus, it gives me a place to go in the winter when it's cold here. You got that sunshine beaming down. I'll trade 365 summer.
Yeah. Well, and it's certainly, we had I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, because I know you guys do it differently there. We had a 26 degree, like we're still in the end of winter.
It's about 84. 26 is about 84-ish.
I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. In Celsius, but that's 20.
It's 30. Well, you just said whatever you said. 26 is about 84 Fahrenheit.
Is that sort of how it is over there now? Because you got to remember, you're still in summer. We're coming to the end of our winter.
Over here it's about 30 Celsius every day.
Even in winter?
And humid. Oh God, no. I mean, no. Winter, we drop down to trying to think. Well, in Fahrenheit, 40s, 50s, which is 10 to 14 Celsius. That range is about it. We don't get freezing.
So you're only 4 degrees higher than well, look, we have colder days, but So we're only 4 degrees higher and we're in winter. So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, 365 summer, man. As I said, if we can get through the next 6 months, as I said, the door is at least, I mean, if I'm not part of the border force or anything, but door is always open to Australia, man. Anytime you come over, we'll, and as I said, just come one, come all when you're allowed to. And
yeah,
I'm going to do my best to get over the States.
Well, you'll be the first one to know.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Over there, I'll always let you know.
Because one thing that I've learned about COVID too, and this is a silver lining, and I've said this in other podcasts, is that I've seen so much of this country. And when I say so much of this country, I mean within a couple of hours from where I rest my head. I've went to places that I never thought I'd ever go to, never even knew I existed, and wanting to go to, but I just kept putting it off because Sydney and Melbourne is where I usually go, or I'm off going to see you at a U.F.C event, or I'm going halfway around the country. But I am so grateful that I've got to go and see more of my own backyard, and just thinking, wow, this existed.
Yeah.
This is so great. And some of the best trips that I've done in my life were trips I've done in the last few months when I was fortunate to go.
Right.
Just different perspective. It's all these little hidden gems, and I've got another list of places where I'm going to go to, and they're only just an hour away from me. And I'm like, how come I've never went and done this? So there is positives. It's forces people to go and say, look, go make the best of what you got, because trust me, there is a lot out there.
There's a lot of beauty to be discovered that is in your backyard. Everybody's excited to go to, in America, everybody wants to go to Europe and tour Europe. I'm like, dude, check out your backyard.
Absolutely. It's like my uncle has once said to me is that, and this is before I went to Canada, and I did Canada because I had to go overseas. He said, everyone should go experience. It's basically finish what's on your plate first before you go back to seconds. So Australia's, as I said, very big place, and I've been to every state except, well, I've never been to the Northern Territory, never been to Darwin, but that's because I'm not a big fan of the dry heat. But I've gone and just seen everything that I could. Can't really go far now, but I encourage people, go and check your own backyard, because there's a lot. If you think I've never gone and looked over here and here, trust me, and support local business, because the locals here are doing it tough. Queensland's doing okay at the moment, but as I said, only because we had a double donut day with COVID, that we're going to do it one sneeze and we're down for a week.
Yeah. Well, hang in there, man. I know it's tough, but
I know it's
we'll be through it soon. I was saying earlier, and I think we might have been cut off. I feel like, in 10 years, there's going to be a syrup for COVID, like COVID syrup, where you just take your COVID syrup and you're good to go. The common cold is what it's going to become.
Yeah. And that's
because it's not going away. I don't believe it's ever going to go away.
And I know. And this is, and the leader who I was talking about, Anastasia Palaszczuk, is our state leader. She's one of those few that believe that eliminating it, because as I said, 100 days, all power to you if you can achieve that, but you can't. You're basically, it's like trying to put a kink on a fire hose. Trying to kink it, it's eventually going to gain pressure, and then boom. I think it's about time for your bedtime. Are you in your bedroom now? I think you're about to go and hit.
Yeah, I had to put my phone on the charger, so
that's
snuck into my room.
I was just thinking, like, because I flicked your message before. I was like, what's he done? He's fallen asleep. You've only said you've only just come back from Vegas only a few days ago. So, but man, great chat. Absolutely, so much pleasure to finally get in touch with you.
Yes.
Only regret is we didn't do it sooner.
I know. Well, I'm happy for you, man. You're killing it out there, and I know once things get rolling back into normal for you, you'll be back in the swing of things, and just keep pursuing, keep dreaming big and achieving big.
Thank you so much, brother. It's like, and it means a lot that, as I said, someone that's been through it about 10, 15 years before I had the chance to do it. And as I said, And it's, if I didn't have, I guess going through what you went through has given me a bit of hope to when I going through what I'm going through at the moment, as I said, with social media. And at first I'd sort of let it get to me, but now it's sort of like, well, who cares? No one's going to say it to your face. But I would have got through that if I'd have known from where you are now to go through. So thank you so much for the support. Thank you so much for the chat.
Yes.
And let's do it again soon.
Yes, Dwayne. All right, brother. Thanks for everything, man. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Always a pleasure, man. So that was Joe.
Aussie.
What? So give us a bit of. Do you want to close off the show with or if you got one more in you after a big weekend in Vegas?
I don't know. What do you want, man? All I was gonna give you was a Aussie.
We'll take that, man. I'll take that. All right, man. Yeah. Be well, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, brother. Stay good, man.
Yeah. So that was
you soon.
That was Joe Martinez, and this is DUANE Podcast, episode 28. Episode 29, we'll plan to get out sometime next week. I think that's going to be with Michael Shaw, and I think we're going to be doing that one live at Seabar Stadium, NRL doubleheader next Friday night, and we're going to be on the beers. So until then, stay safe, keep well, and I will be with you again soon. Bye now.